a daytime exclusive.
Not everybody knows the whole story.
The jailhouse interview.
You were in love with this girl?
Yes.
But she was 13.
I had no clue.
What made these teen lovers go on the run?
I did all this to protect her.
Did somebody need to protect her from you?
The emotional breakdown. Now.
No money, no plan. Did you think you were going to get away with this?
From Grayson County Detention Center in Kentucky, here's Dr. Phil.
Teenage sweethearts, dubbed by some as the modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, made headlines when they allegedly embarked on a dangerous cross-country crime spree, reportedly leaving a trail of chaos in their wake. The Daily Mail was all over this story and followed Dalton Hayes and his girlfriend's every move.
This was a very big story for dailymail.com. These were two young lovers on the run. They traversed 5 states. They were not to be found anywhere, and the hunt began.
We begin with the multi-state manhunt for a 13-year-old and her 18-year-old boyfriend.
Police in several states are looking for unlikely suspects, 18-year-old Dalton Hayes and 13-year-old Cheyenne Phillips.
They are being called a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, a teen couple on an alleged crime spree through the South.
The two left 2 days before Hayes was to appear in court on burglary and theft charges.
Investigators say the fact Hayes was a suspect in other robberies may have prompted him to take off.
The teenagers allegedly burglarized a home, stole a truck, and crashed it into a fence.
It sounded like a bomb went off, but it was the door hitting the building.
Jim McGraw says the teen stole his truck, then took off, crashing through fences before running into the woods and ditching police.
Police say the couple may have been involved in a series of home burglaries before making off in a stolen red pickup.
They were spotted in a South Carolina Walmart accused of using stolen checks to get $40 in cash.
Then the pair traveled to Georgia, where they are accused of stealing a silver 2001 Toyota Tundra. Authorities say the truck had 2 handguns inside.
13-year-old Cheyenne Phillips and her 18-year-old boyfriend Dalton Hayes may be somewhere in Florida this morning, on the run with a stolen truck like this one and loaded guns, according to police. A situation they say is growing more dire by the hour.
Back home in Grayson County, Dalton's mother's worries are only growing.
I found out her age the day that they left. And so I take her phone and I said, hey, the police are looking for you.
The teenage couple on the run for 14 days was taken into police custody in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Hayes was arrested and charged with being a fugitive from justice. Phillips was placed in the care of Children's Services.
So what on earth do these two say drove them to flee? 18-year-old Dalton Hayes has been extradited from Florida and is sitting behind bars in this Kentucky jail right now, facing a number of criminal charges. Is this on-the-run Romeo a hard-nosed criminal? Was he just trying to protect the love of his life, or was something else going on? Today, in a daytime exclusive, I'm inside the Grayson County Detention Center to talk to the so-called Clyde of what some have called a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde story. I want to point out that during the entire interview, Dalton's lawyer, Landon Tingle, was present. You will hear him often advising his client not to answer the questions, but Dalton was insistent. He wants his side of the story out there. He feels he has been mischaracterized in the media, and he wants to set the record straight. incarcerated here now for how long?
For almost a month.
For almost a month. I want to acknowledge as we begin here, you have a public defender and he's here in the room.
Yes, sir.
And he has advised you against doing this interview, but you've decided to do the interview anyway, correct?
Yes, sir.
You were arrested in Florida, right?
Yes.
When you left here, what was your intention? Where were you headed? Did you have a plan?
I'd advise you not to answer that.
To be honest with you, Dr. Phil, I didn't have much of a plan. She had advised me that she was being harmed at home, and I just wanted to protect her, keep her safe.
And what did she say they were doing to her?
Beating on her.
Did she give you any specifics about what?
Hitting her in the face.
Hitting her in the face?
Yes.
And had you seen bruises? Had you seen damage to her face?
Yes, I have.
And her family has denied that, said that wasn't the case, but you disagree.
I know for a fact that she was being abused.
And she told you that?
Yes.
And you saw the results of it?
Yes.
Because I have not seen a single picture that had any bruises or marks on her, which doesn't support your claim that she was being beat on.
Actually, in this picture right here, she wore makeup that night, and on her left eye, right up underneath it, it was black.
Now, at the time that the two of you left, you had some charges pending against you, right?
Yes.
And they were for burglary?
I'd advise you not to answer any of these questions.
Yes.
How much time were you looking at on your prior charges? Do you have any idea?
I probably would have got maybe 7 years and been out in 6 months on shock probation.
Did that figure into your leaving?
No, had nothing to do with my leaving.
Okay, so you weren't leaving to escape prosecution
I wouldn't answer.
On this other thing?
Wouldn't answer that question.
I left because I wanted to protect her. That's it.
That was the only thing that was on your mind
That
at
was
the
the
time
only-
was to protect her?
That was the only thing, is to keep her safe.
Had you planned it, or was it kind of a spur of the moment thing?
Spur of the moment.
Had you known her for a while?
Yes, I had. I had known her for going on 5 months.
Okay. Were y'all dating?
Yes.
Okay. When you were dating her, did she tell you how old she was?
She had told me that she was 18 years old. She told me that her birthday was May 19th, 1996.
Did you know any of her friends?
Yes, and they told me the same thing.
You were how old at the time?
I was 18 years old.
Have you heard the term Bonnie and Clyde?
Bonnie and Clyde was kind of like two people that I've always liked. I watched the movie Bonnie and Clyde several times. I think the news broadcasters took it way out of proportion because there was no Bonnie and Clyde. There wasn't nothing like that.
Because in the movie, these two people, they had guns, they killed people, they killed law enforcement people, and you didn't do anything like that, right?
No way.
You never...
Never even thought about it.
You never threatened anybody with a gun, you never
threatened.
shot at anybody, you never
Nope.
killed anybody. So for them to characterize you and this young woman in that way was like a huge stretch, right?
Yes.
Well, I want to give you a chance to set that record straight because you've been characterized in the media. I got a list of articles here, of all these articles, Bonnie and Clyde, Bonnie and Clyde, Bonnie and Clyde. You're not saying what you did was smart.
Oh, but what I did was not smart by no means. I could have went about it many different ways.
It wasn't the smartest thing to do, but the things that you did do certainly are not, it's not a fair comparison to somebody that went on a murderous spree.
Yes, it's not no fair comparison at all.
So you did this on the spur of the moment because you were in love with this girl?
Yes,
You wanted to protect her?
Yes. There's not a day that don't go by that I don't think about her. For a matter of fact, 2 days ago I called my mom and I cried to my mom because I miss her. And some people think it's a bad thing because she was 13. I had no clue she was 13. I did not know nothing about it. She advised me that the day that we left my house, that she was 13 years old and that she was in school. And the only thing I knew to do was to protect her and keep her safe, and that's what I did.
So when she said she was 13, what did you say? You had to be shocked.
To be honest with you, Dr. Phil, I was really shocked. I was kind of like, why would you lie to me all this time? And that's the only thing that come to my mind, and then to keep her safe.
Were you engaged?
Yes.
Had they ever talked about running off and getting married or anything?
They hadn't talked about running off and getting married. They talked about getting married.
Yeah.
Because he asked her to marry him in my living room right in front of me.
And what'd she say?
She said yes.
So he proposed in front of you?
Yes.
He wanted you to see?
Yeah.
Why?
He wanted me to be a part of it.
Did you like her?
Yeah, I liked her. She was a sweet girl.
Were you excited?
Yeah, I was happy about it. I mean, I was happy that he found somebody that he could, be happy with.
Tell me how that went. You're there, he's there, you two know it, but she doesn't.
He had the ring, and he pulled it out, and he told her, he said that he loved her, and he wanted to spend every day of his life with her and ask her if she would marry him.
Did he get down on one knee? Or
yes, yes, he did.
He did?
Yes.
Do you plan to marry her?
To be honest with you, Dr. Phil, I still love her, but no. I do not plan to marry her.
You don't plan to marry her? Why not?
Because I'm not doing this time for me. I did all this to protect her and keep her safe, so she didn't have to go back home to her family.
Did it work?
No.
So you were in love with her, you're in love with her now?
Yes.
Did she ever get pregnant?
Yes.
I advise you not to talk about it.
Did she ever tell you that she had a miscarriage?
I advise you saying.
I'm going to go with my lawyer's opinion on this one and not talk about this.
Okay. All right. Did she ever show you a picture of an ultrasound?
I'm going to go with my lawyer's opinion.
Okay. Is there a chance she's pregnant now?
Coming up.
Did y'all ever come close to getting caught?
I'm going to say no.
So you had no money, you had no plan. Did you ever plan on coming back?
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with runaway teen Dalton Hayes.
One thing the teen is insistent on is when his relationship with Cheyenne started, his not knowing her real age. The two went on the run, eluding authorities over the last 2 weeks before police caught up with them in Panama City Beach.
Rumors have swirled that the 13-year-old girl that Dalton left with could be pregnant with his baby. These rumors have not been confirmed. Was she pregnant when they left?
She said she was.
She said she was pregnant?
Yeah, she had told me she was.
Did you say how far along she was? Had she been to a doctor?
She had told me once before that she had been to the doctor, but I knew it was a lie. She said she went to the doctor, and she said, well, I had to leave before the appointment was all the way over. She said I had to pick my brother up at school, and the doctor's going to mail me the rest of the paperwork. I knew right then that she was lying because an OBGYN doesn't do that, none I've ever seen.
Right.
And she showed me an ultrasound picture, and she was supposed to be 6 to 7 weeks at this ultrasound. In the picture, you could see the fetus. It looked just like a little bean, but you could see it. You can't see anything at 7 to 8 weeks, so I knew that wasn't her ultrasound. Come to find out, her dad's ultrasound picture from his last child, who's a year old, was missing.
Is there a chance she's pregnant now?
No.
Okay. Now, when you left, you were scheduled to be presented to the grand jury
the very next day.
The very next day. And you knew that, right? But that wasn't on your mind. Your mind was to get her to safety.
Dr. Phil, can I just tell you how it started?
Please.
Her family reported her missing. And I told her...
Before you left?
Before we left. And I told her, I said, let me take you home. And then I'll come get you and everything will be all right. She latched onto me, kind of like a pit bull, and she cried. And that's when she told me, please don't take me home. I said, well, I have court tomorrow. I said, can you hide out until tomorrow? And she advised me no, that she was going to leave. So my first instinct is forget about court. I'm going with her. I'm going to keep her safe. And that's what I tried to do.
So you're saying she was going anyway?
Yeah, she was going in. That's
whether you went or whether or not, she was going anyway?
Yes.
So was this a situation where you're saying you kind of went with her?
Yes. Like
instead of her going with you?
Yes. People took it all out of proportion. I did not force her. She's the one who told me that she was running and she did not want to go home.
But she was 13.
Yes, I had no clue. She did not tell me she was 13 until we left my house. And that's when I had a warrant signed for my arrest.
Did you ever plan on coming back?
I had no plans of coming back to the state of Kentucky.
You were gone?
I was gone.
You in the wind, you weren't ever coming back?
Never coming back.
Where were you going to wind up?
In Panama.
The country of Panama?
The country of Panama.
Uh-huh. And I've heard the stories that what you wanted to do was take her to see the ocean before you had to go to jail. Is that true?
That is not true. She did want to go see the ocean, and I was going to take her with me to the ocean in June. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that all this came up, and we ended up at the beach.
Your mission wasn't to get her to the ocean before you had to go to jail?
No, that was not my mission.
That wasn't your mission?
No.
Your mission was what?
My mission was to keep her safe. I had to get her away from her family.
Okay. Did you consider any alternative, like calling Child Protective Services or Department of Child and Family Services?
I did not, because I can tell you that if I would have called them, that they would not have helped her out at all. Mm-hmm. And I know that for a fact because my whole juvenile life, I was in and out of jail, rehabs, group homes, camps, all over silly stuff. I didn't know no other way to go about it.
Right. So you left here and you left in a red pickup truck, right?
I'm not going to speak on that.
Mm-hmm. But just tell you what the allegation is, that the police say that you stole a red 2006 Toyota Tacoma from a cattle farm.
I'm not going to say whether I did or didn't.
Let me ask you something. I'm going to ask you this hypothetically. I'm not talking about the 2 weeks that you were on the run. If you were going to steal a car or a truck, hypothetically, would you hotwire it or would you find one with the keys in it if you were going to steal it?
Well, being you're not talking about the case, I feel that this won't incriminate me in court. I would find one with the keys in the vehicle.
Okay. From the 5th through the 11th, where were you? You allegedly had a stolen check that was presented at Walmart in Manning, South Carolina. According to the Manning police chief, that's you, that's her. That's in the Walmart in Manning on the 12th.
That's true.
Did y'all ever come close to getting caught between here and there?
I'm going to say no.
No. You never got close?
No.
You weren't recognized? People didn't see? Were you aware that you were on the news?
No, I had no idea I was on the news.
You didn't know you were on, you didn't see you didn't walk in and look up and see yourself
I had no clue.
On the news? You didn't see that?
Had no clue I was on the news.
The alleged crime spree of 2 teenage fugitives on the run.
The 2 are accused of eluding police.
Those young suspects were dubbed the teenage Bonnie and Clyde.
You didn't know that people said that the 2 of you had run off together or any of that?
Had no clue.
You thought you were off the radar?
Yes.
Just that nobody was looking for you?
Yes.
The long arm of the law finally caught up with Dalton Hayes and Cheyenne Phillips in a parking lot in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Bay County Sheriff's Office, Panama City Police, Panama City Beach Police Department, and the U.S. Marshals surrounded the vehicle and gave them absolutely no way out.
Did you ever see your mother pleading for you to come home in the media?
I had no idea. Actually, we were on the beach, and I ran across this guy, and he told me that he seen my mama on TV. He said that your mama's begging for you to come home.
He recognized you?
Yes, he recognized me. The first thing he told me, he said, "You're the new moderate day Bonnie and Clyde." And that's when she started laughing. And I said, "It's not funny." I said, "This can get both of us in a lot of trouble, so you just need to lay back, and we're going to lay low for a while."
You were, in fact, arrested in Florida on the 18th in a Toyota Tundra that you allegedly had stolen in Georgia.
Yes.
Okay. Were you armed?
No, I was not armed.
There was never a time that you used a gun against anyone in any way? You didn't threaten a gun? You didn't brandish a weapon?
Nope, I never seen a gun.
Did you have any money when you left?
Had not $1.
You did not have $1 in your pocket when you left here?
No money.
When you left without $1 in your pocket, how did you plan to feed this girl?
She did not go hungry. I always managed to feed her, and I wouldn't let her eat before I would even take a bite of anything.
Did that worry you?
Not necessarily, because I can live off the land.
So you had no plan? You we're out of here?
Yes, that was her idea.
But you understand that's really impulsive.
Yes.
That's not the smartest thinking you've ever done.
No, it's the dumbest thinking I've ever done.
Yeah. Was this dangerous?
This was very dangerous.
In retrospect, if they thought you had abducted her, could you have been shot and killed here?
Yes.
Okay, so you had no money, you had no plan. You were due in court the next day, so you decided this is a good plan. I want to take this 13-year-old and we're hightailing it. We're out of here because you're going to protect her. Did somebody need to protect her from you?
Coming up.
Difference between 62 and 57, not a big deal.
Yes.
Difference between 18 and 13, there's going to be a lot of people in America say that's a big deal. If she lied to you about her age, how do you know she wasn't lying to you about being abused?
We now return to a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde or confused teens in love.
Authorities have been looking for 18-year-old Dalton Hayes and his 13-year-old 8th grade girlfriend, Cheyenne Phillips. Last week, Hayes' mother received a text from her son that said he was fine. Phillips sent her mother a text around the same time asking for $100.
Hayes is facing several charges for the alleged crimes he has committed in multiple states. Phillips, the 13-year-old, will be treated as a juvenile.
Did somebody need to protect her from you?
No. I would not harm her. There was no reason for somebody to think that I took her against her will, because I didn't. And that is a fact, and whoever says different, they're wrong.
Do you understand that you've been charged with second-degree rape?
I do understand that.
Is that fair?
That is not fair at all.
Why is that unfair to you?
I'll give you a little bit, Dr. Phil, but I can't go into detail with it. Not everybody knows the whole story. I'm not a bad guy. I have got letters from people. He was a man, I think he was 62, talking about how he fell in love with a girl who was 5 years younger than him. I've also got a letter from an elderly lady talking about how she understands my situation.
You're getting letters from people saying, hey, I understand, 5-year difference between 62 and 57, not a big deal.
Yes.
Difference between 18 and 13, there's going to be a lot of people in America say that's a big deal because that's a child and you're an adult. As an adult, you should know that child does not have the ability to make adult decisions. That child does not have the ability to give consent. That child does not have the ability to understand the consequences of her actions or her decisions, and therefore, you as an adult should not put her in a situation where she has to make adult decisions. What do you say to that?
I never put her in a situation where she had to make an adult decision. My theory is, if she can lie about her age and say that she's a grown-up, that she can handle the grown-up consequences that come with that. That's why she is what she is today.
And
that is my theory on that.
Did you ever meet her mother?
Yes, I met her mother.
Did her mother not tell you how old she was?
No.
She had to know you weren't 13.
Yes. That's obvious.
Did she object to you being with her daughter?
No, actually, Sherry liked me. Sherry told me that I was a good guy. Sherry's husband, Wade, he liked me. Said that I was a great guy.
Does that strike you odd that a mother wouldn't say, wait a minute here. You're a grown man, my daughter's 13. Well, get your hands off of her. What do you...
Yes, that does. Because if that was my daughter's not going to be dating an 18-year-old.
So she lied to you early on?
Yes, she lied to me throughout it all.
And you fell in love with her while she was lying to you?
Yes.
And you had the opportunity to walk away, and you're saying it was too late?
Yes.
If she lied to you about her age for 5 months, how do you know she wasn't lying to you about being abused?
Because I've seen marks on her face. She went in my bathroom at my mama's house and put makeup on just to hide her bruises from me, because she did not want me to know.
Could those have been from a fight with a girlfriend? Could those have been from something else?
They could have been from something else, but I'm going to believe her on that. That's what she told me. That's what I believe.
So she lied to you about her age.
Yes.
But you believe her about the abuse allegations.
Yes.
Her father says it's not true and they're a well thought of family. They've already denied that. They said it's not true, so those are allegations, they deny them. We spoke to the young girl's father, and he said he is her custodial parent. He says things are overwhelming right now, and he declined our offer for an interview. But he absolutely and completely denies Dalton's allegation that his daughter was abused at home. We'll be right back.
Coming up.
Were you driving or was she driving? Do you know the name of the man whose truck you allegedly left in?
It sounded like a bomb went off, but it was the door hitting the building.
I've actually spoken to his wife. She wanted me to tell both of you.
We now return to a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde or confused teens in love.
Last week, the pair was spotted inside a Walmart in South Carolina. Authorities were worried about their increasing brazenness. The last truck they allegedly stole contained 2 guns. Their alleged crime spree spanned 5 southern states, and their exploits prompted comparisons to fugitive lovebirds Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow.
I read that you said in the media that you had a couple high-speed chases. Did somebody chase you?
I'm not going to talk about that because that could hurt me in other states.
If you were chased, were you driving or was she driving?
I'm going to discuss that.
Did she ever drive?
Yes.
So there were times when y'all were on the move that she did some driving?
Yes.
Did she ever want to come home during that 2 weeks? Did she go, wow?
To be honest with you, Dr. Phil, you ain't even got to finish the question. No. She begged me not to take her home because I was so ready to come back home and get this jail time and do it and get it over with. No, she not one time asked me to take her home. When I would tell her, let's go turn ourselves in, she would say, you go turn yourself in. I'm not turning myself in.
Do you know the name of the man whose truck you allegedly left in?
No clue.
Well, the man's name's Jim McGraw, and this is a quote from him. They stole my truck and took off, crashing through fences before running into the woods and ditching police.
It sounded like a bomb went off, but it was the door hitting the building.
Apparently, this truck was in a garage-type shed or building, and the door wasn't completely closed when you were backing out, and so it hit and bent the door really badly and made a really big noise. Would that be what he's talking about here, the big noise?
I'm not going to discuss that.
I've actually spoken to his wife. She wanted me to tell both of you that they are really praying for you and that they really forgive you both.
You know, it's kind of obvious, Dr. Phil. Sorry about this, but I'll go ahead and say it. The red truck, they got me on camera.
I know.
And if I get them released, I would go back to jail just to go to them and tell them that I was sorry. Because I sit back and I think about the things that I did, the things that I've done, and how I hurt others. And now I realize that people, they work hard for the stuff that they get. And then people go on the spur of the moment and tear those things up. And if you ever have contact with them, because it's obvious I'm not going to be allowed to, we tell them that we appreciate their prayers and that I am very sorry and that I have a lot of restitution to pay and they will get their truck fixed.
Was there any relief when you were caught?
There was a lot of relief. To be honest with you, I was glad to be caught. I was ready to come back home. And I can still remember the first question the U.S. Marshal asked me. He gave me the phone and my sheriff was on the phone. And Norman Chafin said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, just please come get me and take me home." I was ready to come home. I was ready to see my mom more than anything.
The sheriff says he's received as many as 5 and 6 calls a day to his office here in Grayson County.
Dalton is hard-headed, we know that. You got a 13-year-old and an 18-year-old who's supposed to be in love, but you know, if he really cares for her, then he would take her someplace safe.
I've spoken to Sheriff Chafin, and he mentioned that you got on the phone with him, and he asked you if you were okay. You knew he was sincere because he's known you since you were younger.
Yes.
He was sincerely wanting to make sure you were okay.
Yes. And if I'd have said no, he would have made sure I was okay.
You were relieved to come home because you said that's really important to you for people to understand about you as they look at this situation?
I want people out there to know that I did not do it to hurt her. I did it to keep her safe, because not only then did I love her, but today I still love her. I want people to know that I didn't do it against her will. I did not force her to leave. She's the one who said that she was running, and I could not let her go by herself.
What would you say to those people that would say you wanted to protect her, but that you were the threat?
She was the one who begged me. She is the one who pleaded to me not to take her home. She is the one who told me she was being abused. So I thought that I did the right thing by keeping her safe, by not letting her get beat on. But it's obvious some people don't look at it that way.
You leave here on the 4th and you're arrested on the 18th. That's 2 weeks. Were you having fun? Was this a big adventure?
Coming up.
The way she looked at me, she was the most happy girl alive. I would do it all over again to protect her.
Did you think you were going to get away with this? What was the last thing you said to her?
We now return to a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde or confused teens in love.
The Grayson County teen who was on the run with his girlfriend was in court today. This young man, Dalton, is going to stand trial for 11 different counts, including second-degree rape, robbery, and taking a young girl across state lines. As for Phillips, officials won't tell us where she is or what charges she may be facing since she's just 13.
Was this a big adventure?
I'll give you some detail on it, Dr. Phil. That's just because I know people's gonna think what they want to think. People's going to say what they want to say, and that's okay. But the look on her eyes when we was at the beach, the way she looked at me, the way she presented herself, she was the most happy girl alive. I would do it all over again to protect her.
Were you wrong to leave here with a 13-year-old girl?
Yes. And you know what, Dr. Phil? If I would have known she was 13, I would have never spoken to her.
Are you in contact with her at all?
No.
What was the last thing you said to her?
I love you.
Anything else? No. What was the last thing she said to you?
I love you.
Do you miss her?
There's not a day in this jail that I don't think about her. I don't know if she feels the same way. I'll probably never know if she feels the same way.
Did you think you were going to get away with this, or did you think, you know, I'm going to run like hell, but we're going to get caught?
That's funny, Dr. Phil. I'll answer that question for you. I knew we were going to get caught. I knew what I was facing. After she had told me her real age, I knew what I would come home to. But she thought it was all a joke. She would laugh about things. She'd think everything's funny. And it just so happens when we were arrested, not everything's funny. When the cops got us, she told me, she said, go somewhere. There's nowhere to go. So they put us both on the ground. And I told her, I said, I love you. She said, I love you too. That was it.
Was it worth it?
To keep her safe, to know that I didn't have to send her back home to get beat on, it was worth it. But on the other hand, it wasn't worth it, because now I'm looking at 10 to 20 years.
Why did you want to do this interview?
Because I wanted people to understand the full story, not just what the news broadcasters are saying about me. That I'm not a bad guy, because I did not ever once hurt her. Maybe some people will change their view on me and not look at me as a bad guy.
What would you do different if you had this to do over again?
Coming up, what finally made Dalton break down and cry.
I understand that you've gotten some difficult news.
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Dalton Hayes.
What would you do different if you had this to do over again?
If I had this to do over again, I would call the only cop in town that I really trust, and he might have been able to get her in a better place.
But you wouldn't have broken off the relationship even though you learned she was 13 because you say she lied to you and you fell in love with her.
If I had it to do over again, like I said, I would have called that one cop, and it would have never come out she was 13.
I understand that since you've been incarcerated here that you've gotten some difficult news about your father as far as his health.
My dad was diagnosed with throat cancer, but I just found out yesterday And it seems my family wants to keep things from me while I'm incarcerated. I think it's next week they're putting a feeding tube in him. And my dad's not in the best health as of right now. It's hard on me, but I don't know what else to do with it.
You scared for him?
I really am scared that my dad's not going to make it. That's what hurts me the most.
Has he been to see you?
No. I seen him at the sheriff's office on the 22nd when they brought me back to Kentucky. I seen him for like 4 minutes, give him a hug. He told me everything's gonna be all right. It's kind of hard for me to stay strong, especially with me being locked up. And just say something did happen to my dad, I wouldn't be able to go to his funeral because I'm a flight risk. It's kind of hard to accept things, even though you can't change them.
If you had a chance to say something to this girl today, what would it be?
If I had a chance to see her, look at her, tell her that I love her, tell her that her eyes still shine brighter than the stars do, and just tell her that everything's gonna be all right, and that's all I'd tell her.
You're obviously looking at doing some time in
the penitentiary.
In the penitentiary.
I accept the time that I'm gonna do. I don't look at it as a long time, I look at it as a time to get my education, time to start college, time to change my life around where I can do things. Because I got a problem. My problem is with drugs, in particular spice, which is that fake marijuana. I was really bad on that.
Were you on drugs when you left Kentucky?
I was.
Were you on drugs while you were gone?
No.
But you're going to use this time to get yourself straightened out, get yourself educated?
Yes, I'm going to get my GED, I'm going to start college, try to prevent anything like this from ever happening again.
Dalton's mother, Tammy Martin, says her son is not dangerous, that he's a good kid who made some bad decisions. She says she couldn't be more thankful that he is safe and sound, even if he is behind bars. What do you think should happen here?
I think it should go through the court system like it's going, and, you know, when Dalton gets his sentence, serve his time, and hopefully while he's in the jail, he can get his GED, and when he gets out, maybe lead a productive, happy life.
So you believe he should be accountable for his bad choices. You just don't think it should be to the point that it defines the rest of his life?
Correct.
Was this the act of a hardened and vicious criminal, or was this the stupid impulse of a kid?
Stupid impulse of a kid.
And you don't endorse an 18-year-old running away with a 13-year-old?
No.
Coming up.
I want to be real clear on what my position here is.
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Dalton Hayes.
Do you feel like I've given you a fair opportunity to tell your story here today?
I feel you have.
Is there anything that you've wanted to say that you haven't had the opportunity to say?
Actually, there is.
Let's hear it.
I was in trouble all throughout my juvenile life. 3 months and 21 days after I turned 18, I come to jail on 2 felonies. I don't know about most people, but I listen to a lot of country. That's what I like, and I listen to some Merle Haggard. There's one song that always comes to my mind. And it's called Mama Tried. And, my mom worked days, nights, evenings, it didn't matter what it was, to support her 3 kids. I'm a mama's boy, so obviously, you know my mama tried.
Mama tried to raise me better.
She gave everything she had, but I just decided not to listen, decided to take things into my own hand all the time. But if I could go back, I'd change a lot of things just for my mom.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. I want to be real clear on what my position here is. I think what you did was an incredibly bad choice. I think for an 18-year-old to be off with a 13-year-old is wrong at every level. There is no excuse for it. There's no justification for it. It is wrong, wrong, wrong. I don't think you're an evil guy. You just had really bad impulse here and made a really bad choice. I hope that you take the time that you get and do what you said and get yourself cleaned up, get yourself educated with some skills so you can become a constructive member of society. You're very young, and this can be a bad memory that fades by the time you're 30 years old, 40 years old. You can put this behind you and turn yourself around, and I hope you do that.
I'm going to.
Don't waste it. You can do this, and you guys certainly are not Bonnie and Clyde. You certainly didn't kill people. You certainly didn't hurt people. You certainly haven't been characterized fairly, and you've told your story today, and I'm glad you did. This is a cautionary tale. Because what we're talking about here is an 18-year-old young man who made a really bad decision at so many levels. Running away with an underage child is never acceptable. That is never okay. And if you're a young man or a young woman, a young teenager, and you feel like you're trapped, find some adult that you can trust, whether it's a teacher, a counselor, a pastor, law enforcement, someone that you can talk to. Don't take the law into your own hands, because when you do, you're going to wind up on the wrong side of the bars. We're going to be watching to see what happens with Dalton Hayes and see what the penalties will be, and there will be penalties. I want to thank the Grayson County Detention Center for their cooperation and hospitality. Thank you for being here today. I want to hear what you have to say. Go to Facebook or Twitter, #ConfusedTeens. Thanks for being here.